Okay, why don't we, or after, looks like, Paul? Okay, there we go. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order here. At 7:04. In lieu of an opening prayer, Pastor asked me to read a devotion that he used for council at our last meeting. So it's just a section of scripture from Chronicles 29, 1 through 9. It says, Then King David said to the whole assembly, My son Solomon, the one whom God has chosen, is young and inexperienced. The task is great because this palatial structure is not for man, but for the Lord God. With all my resources, I have provided for the temple of my God, gold for the gold work, silver for the silver, bronze for the bronze, iron for the iron, and wood for the wood, as well as onyx for the settings, turquoise, stones of various colors, and all kinds of fine stone and marble. All of these in large quantities. Besides my devotion to the temple of my God, and I'll give my personal treasure of gold, silver, for the temple of my God, and above everything, I have provided for this holy temple. 3,000 talents, that's 110 tons of gold, gold of Ophir, and 7,000 talents, 270 tons of refined silver for the overlaying of the walls of the building, for the gold work and the silver work, and for all the work to be done by the craftsmen. Now who is willing to consecrate himself today to the Lord? Then the leaders of families, the officers of the tribes of Israel, the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, and the officials in charge of the king's work gave willingly. They gave toward the work of the temple of God 5,000 talents and 10,000 derricks of gold. That's 190 tons roughly. 10,000 talents of silver. That's 375 tons of silver. 18,000 talents. That's 675 tons of bronze. And 100,000 talents. 3,050 or 3,750 tons of iron. And any who had precious stones gave them to the treasury of the temple of the Lord, in the custody of Jehiel the Gershonite. The people rejoiced at the willing response of their leaders, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly to the Lord. David the king also rejoiced greatly. May God bless our meeting this morning. You have the agenda in front of you, what I just read is on the back of that agenda. We'll go through our normal reports. I think Pastor talked about in the sermon, if anyone's request to the congregation will be one of the later items. The old pastor is here, he will give his report before the very lesson session, but if not, if he's still in with the conference, we'll do that item first before pastor. So, with that said, we'll get started here. Looks like Luke is up first.
Morning. I should have a written report there. Go through briefly. Preschool, 25-26 school year started officially on the second. There some meetings and stuff before that. I think the term here, blanking. General, we'll go back to that. Enrollments right now looking at 25 students with 12 in the 3-year-old, 13 in the 4. So this year we switched up the offerings a little bit. So we have a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday program. Kids are in both 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, so nothing on Fridays and Mondays. Had done some tours since the beginning of the year. Nobody knew or no students at this point that enrolled, but still getting some interest there. Trunk or treat was held yesterday. There was a pretty good turnout because of the weather. And 10 or 11 trunks and roughly 95 to 100 people coming through. Upcoming events, November 9th, the kids are going to be singing in school, or in the church, everything's ready to go. Registration opens into the 2026 year. Sunday school, catechism, and teen groups, a few things to highlight there. Started September 14th, those programs are getting going. Sunday school this year is using a new curriculum. CPH is bringing in Enduring Faith Bible curriculum called One Room. It lends itself fairly well to having multiple grades like we have to be able to teach there. So I think that's been going well. Attendance I think has been a little stronger than it was last year. And groups, catechism and Sunday school are preparing for the Christmas program, which will be on December 21st. Bible studies, you can put the list there, different studies that have partaken over the last quarter, ended today's, so this last one, I'm not sure what's coming up, I can talk faster on that. Thursday evenings, Pastor already mentioned, but the listen is still going, women's Bible study, looking at Matthew still, and the men's Bible study is still in the middle of embracing godly character, a book. They're roughly halfway through that book. And I inadvertently left off VBS, that happened in the last quarter as well, so end of July, that happened, so thanks to all the, I think roughly 25 kids or so through that, so thanks to all the volunteers we have, both in the, for VBS and Sunday school, running team group, as well, so that's what I have for a quick high-level report over the last quarter. Questions?
Thanks, Luke. Bill, outreach.
We continue to mail out 50 new letters monthly. We also, Cash is continually taking personal Bible studies. We're working, continuing to work on a virtual front door. Chrissy's been taking care of that, setting up video interviews, that type of thing. So we'll have more information on that when it becomes more viable for us. We usually have a Red Cross blood drive on September 19th and collected 37 units, which is the second highest total ever. So that was really nice. We're going to resume new mover visits in November. I'm going to do those Thanksgiving worship and high social. We're in the process of updating our new mover postcard, and once we have that, we'll share that with the congregation. Digital reach, total app subscribers is 652, that's up 21 from past, and the YouTube channel subscribers is up 142, that's up 9 from past also. We recently had a fundraiser for Yamato's Helping Hand Foundation. 1573 was raised, and an additional 240 was raised when we had the fundraiser at our time. Pastor talked this morning about Peter Zanala and his completion of the health certificate. And as noted in my note here, that if anybody would be moved to give him a small congratulatory or encouraging gift, they can be designated through the benevolence fund through next Sunday. Thanksgiving Eve worship and high social is coming up November 26th. Perfect time to invite family and friends to a special service and fellowship after church. And we ordered 3,500 every day, order direct mail postcards to invite friends and family, neighbors to upcoming Christmas worship. That's all I have. Any questions?
I don't have a question, I just wanted to update, some of you may already know this, but Albert was here this morning, but he's had to leave. Just wanted to give you a quick update. All of the stuff that he had accumulated to send over there in the locker was shipped, and it will be there right around Thanksgiving time. So the money that's been raised will be used primarily, if he gets a little bit more, he can release it all, because they won't release it from the harbor in Liberia until they're fully paid for the shipment, is to distribute that sometime around Christmas probably, or between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And the plan would be to have Peterson receive this, whatever we send them, maybe when they're doing this, where there's a group of people around there to highlight what he's accomplished as part of the distribution of the clothing and other gifts that or items that were in that package that went over there. So that's kind of where the money is planned to be used at this point.
Bill, something else you would like?
Just wanted to highlight a couple of things on my report. A goal for the long-range plan committee to get more congregational participation. Our fellowship activities, we did have 24 members go to the church basement ladies play, which was a fun night. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of things that the shepherding ministry is working on right now. Or going to be accomplished. We had a 92% participation rate on our congregational photo updates, which recently happened. And then Black Shepherds are also discussing a potential female advisor to add to our committee, also to help arrange that participation. Short and sweet, but any questions?
Is there worship?
Morning. I'll just highlight a few things and make a few comments about the worship committee and some of the things we're working on. From a attendance standpoint, pleased to announce that our first quarter worship attendance is a 99 average. That excludes the surge we had last week from Holy Trinity here, so that was, what, 160 some that week, I think, so. That's about 5 from last year, so that's certainly trending the right way. And I also want to just at this time take a moment to thank the choirs that we're all doing this fall. And we're doing it with volunteer choir directors. And I can't say enough about what Dennis, today's Tim, and Lisa Molitor have done by stepping up to lead the choir with sometimes some new pieces, some very challenging pieces. Pushing us like Susan Decker used to push us, like that really used to push us. So look forward to some more things coming up in the future. I think your congregation trumpeters are working on getting their lists in shape for some pieces here in the fall with Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas. And there's even a groundswell of interest now of putting together a small limited praise band with guitar and drums and piano. And maybe some people singing, so we're working on some pieces there. A piece that we will practice first to see how it comes together before we unveil it to the congregation. So look for that in the future. But again, and a special thank you, as Pastor mentioned today, also for what Marcia has done to keep things going from an organist and a piano standpoint. We've gotten a few of the holes filled with some area organists and pianists, but Marcia has taken the bulk of that workload as well as accompanying the choir. So thanks enough for Marcia.
I have to thank her too, because this piece that we did today went from 4 flats to 3 sharps. And she really worked hard on it. She really did.
And she's working on more accompaniment for the choir and some of these other special music things we got coming on the road too. So again, thank you for our volunteers, and maybe as we talk about some future resource needs for our congregation, we can't forget what a powerful addition to have these some part-time staff that gives us some direction on our choir and our music for the congregation like we used to have in the past. So we'll keep that in mind as we talk about congregation resources on the road. That's all I got. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
don't need the other in exactly the wrong spots. We need to be for the kids, we got to fall here. So I brought all these things to council. 2 months ago, we had a long discussion about when we need to go to the members and do a fundraising effort and how much are we looking at. Bob did all the numbers and it was significant. $30,000-$40,000. So we left that meeting and we the September council meeting. Yes, the September council meeting. We left that meeting thinking that we were going to have to do this one, and we were starting to have discussions among us how that was going to go. Then the week after that, I got a call from financial planner that said I represent the state and she give it for the congregation to be used as you see fit. Coming down the census paper. So I did that, and I met with her again later, and she said, well, this is the disbursement, because they had several investments in. And she told me it was $183,000, which you all heard about in the newsletter and some of the pastor center. We were floored, the week after we had this major discussion, God chooses to bless us through Betty's gift to take away some of this pain that we would have short term. And on top of that, extremely generous gift by Betty, but also extremely generous by God to see our needs. We've had things on our long-range plan that, there's always two things: resource of money and resource of people and time. Resource of, even if you have the people to do it, if you don't have the financial backing, we would have to do other things to try and get that money to do things that are long-range plan. But now that's kind of been eliminated on a go-forward basis. Now we just have to have the people to do the work. So we find ourselves in a much better situation. We met with council this last week, and the check had come from the state, and Scott was able to deposit that. So one of the agenda items is to go through that whole thing. But anyway, so Lost Trails got more interesting in the last 30 days. There's foundational issues by the garage and parsonage that have to be addressed. Trees. Oh, the trees. So the city came to tag their trees. We have 6 trees total, but one has been tagged for a while. And they said you have until, I think it was October 25th or October 26th, to get rid of that tree yourself. Or we're coming to cut it down, we're going to charge you for it. Since then, a few other trees have been added, so it's a total of 6 that have to come down. They gave us a grace period until November 4th. So the council saw no other solution, but at least the one tree had to go, otherwise we pay a lot more. So back in September, we approved doing that tree range for it. Meantime, we found out about the other trees, so we got 6 trees to do. And the foundation over there, oh, and we knew that we needed to resurface the parking lot at some point. Now, all these things are, the timing of these aren't immediate, right? But these are all things that we knew were on the horizon, not in our budget. We have to do. The one that we thought we had time on, like the cooling in the fellowship area, we thought, well, we've got till spring. We don't need cooling in there till spring. We got heat. Well, that will change when we could
the list of items that we're recommending from the wonderful gift from Daddy Glenn. Starting out on the overview, the beginning of the year was July 1. As you can see on line 1, we started out the year with $2,139 in our checkbook. Line 2 is the amount of giving, the unified giving deposits for the 3 months. Actual was $71,000 for 3 months, $278. We had forecasted or budgeted $79,000. So we're kind of behind on our unified giving. If you recall, our budget needs for the unified, on a monthly basis, we need roughly $26,000 to manage our unified budget. So at this point, for 3 months, we're about $7,800 behind on our unified giving. Line 3 is the preschool tuition, and for the 3 months, we've taken in $30,079. Our budget was for $24,094, so we're over about $6,000 roughly. And that's mainly, we had several parents prepay for the whole year, which we didn't plan for that. So over time, of course, that money will plateau out and equal out. But it's a blessing we got it up front. Our total combined deposits for the church and school, $101,357. Our budget was $103,170. So again, combined, we're about $1,800 short. Now, if you go to line 5, now we talk about the expense side of the equation. Our unified general operating expenses for 3 months, actual, was $74,778. We had budgeted $75,533, so we're right on track for actually a benefit of $755. Preschool expenses for the 3 months were $16,894. The budget was $19,000, so we're ahead of the game on our budget with expenses by $2,700. So our total combined expenses were $91,672. Budget was $95,147. So our expenses were below our budget, which is a benefit to us, by $3,475. So that brings us down to the current checkbook balance. As of September 30th, first 3 months of the year, our current unified checkbook is at $11,824. Our budgeted, we said we would be at $10,162, so we're at $1,600 ahead of our budget, combined money in, money out. The middle section is a summary of the checkbook, which the checkbook also includes, if you recall, special fund money that's been designated to us for the 17 funds that we currently hold. And I'll go over that with you in a minute. So we have $11,824 at the end of September. We also have $29,709 in special funds designated. So our checkbook at the end of September combined is at $41,533. Down below you can see the notes explaining some of those items that I mentioned to you. And way down at the bottom is just a summary of where our checkbook was for each month, July, August, and September. Any questions with that report? The second page is more detailed. I won't go through that with you. Everything on the left side of the report is the numbers I just went over with you as year-to-date numbers. Each category is highlighted in yellow, and those are the detailed expenses that were paid compared to the budgeted expenses. Down at the bottom on the left side, you can see that there's our total expenses paid out, $91,672, compared to the budget that we said $95,000, which I mentioned to you on the previous page. Up on the top right is a summary of our giving, and it's broke down to the unified receipts and to the school program receipts. So $101,357 is what total amount has come in, and we had budgeted $103. So there's our unified checkbook balance of $11,824 as of September 30th. The middle section retirement, building fund, West, preschool, Christmas gifts, so on and so on. Total of all those funds as of September 30th is $29,709. You can see the biggest ones is up at the top. We've got debt retirement of $4,830. We have CMO missions of $11,259. Those are two categories of all our special funds that are funds that need to go to another facility. The debt retirement we need to send to Thrivent. The $11,259 we need to send to CMO. All the other funds are monies designated that would stay within our church for flowers, altar, whatever. But keep in mind that 4,830 and the 11,259, because we're going to talk about that in a second. So again, total special funds, 29,709. The bottom two boxes is the breakdown of our total cash. As I mentioned, your checking account is at $41,533. We have a checking, our savings account, a top line financial that we opened. It currently has $25 in it. Our endowment fund, which we've had for years, is at $172,287, and that's money held at the Wells Investment Corp. And just to mention to you, in the past 3 months, the endowment fund has grown by $10,000 due to the current market conditions. So last quarter it was at 162, it's grown to 172 at this point. And of course we have the Thrivent restricted account, which is money that Thrivent, our mortgage lender, is requiring us to hold. They're holding that money, I should say, in case of us not making a mortgage payment. So there's $22,000 there sitting at Thrivent. The bottom box is our current breakdown of our mortgage, and currently at the end of September, our mortgage balance is $1,025,909. So that's the two reports. We're going to get into some of those numbers that I mentioned to you a little bit when we start talking about the recommendations for the Betty Lenz. I know it's a lot of numbers to digest. Sometimes I get confused on them too. Any questions?
Okay.
Thanks, Jack. All's up next with this from the last week of the annual board meeting.
Yeah, to review the minutes from last board's meeting. That's the critical.
relating to this, the fact that Betty, was inspired by God to do that for the congregation. And the family, through Betty and the family, they gave us freedom to do what we needed to do with it. So what we've got here is a recommendation in total of what the council thought we should do. But we can consider it, I think, the easiest way is to consider it as a package. And if you have questions, Scott's gonna come up with me, and we'll talk through any questions you have. If it's such that we shouldn't do it as a package, if we're gonna do individual items, that's fine too. We've been in this position before, so this is kind of new territory, trying to figure out how to deal with something that's generous. Dave, if you like the floor and you want to make a comment to the assembly, you're sure welcome. Would you like to?
I'll just say a couple words. Is my teacher voice working? I guess if I say anything, the family, I've gone over this with my family, and we've reviewed, the disposition of the request, and we think it's wonderful. Things break, there are barriers that are put up, and this is going to be knocking down some of those barriers to the true purpose of this church. So I think we're just overjoyed at that aspect of it. And I'm not ashamed to say that when I kind of read through broken furnaces and trees and foundations, I shed a tear, not for the broken furnace, but that my mother's request can do so much good. And so I really think that's the message I want to give to this church. This is going to smooth the waters to the extent that that's possible. I think we're just overjoyed. And I know my mother will be too. So I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Pastor and I had a discussion about how unique this was in fitting with Betty's life as a gardener. Using this money to plant seeds for the things that we know we need to do in the future, but we couldn't have. The pruning and trimming and maintaining of the property and existing stuff here. There was such a unique parallel there that we both were marveled at it. Anyway, thanks again, Dave. Appreciate the comments. So everybody has a sheet in front of them, I think. If you don't, raise your hand. Scott, if you want to come down, we can go through it. So again, we will go through one by one and have discussion. And if you have questions or comments, feel free to make them. And then we'll consider them as a package. And if that doesn't work, then we'll consider it individually. The first one off the top, council felt it appropriate that we should give a thank offering for the generosity that we had shared with us. The breakdown of that we came up with was $6,000 in the West and $12,000 in the Wells CMO. That's basically doubles what's in our budget. And one thing I want to remind everybody, the budget is kind of our operating expenses that include some maintenance stuff like break and fix and that sort of thing. As far as just minor repairs, nothing major is in that budget. And then Scott's checkbook handles those costs. When we have extraordinary stuff like this,
Let me correct you. Wasn't Scott's checkbook. Just want to correct you.
But yeah, the checkbook is the congregation, and our budget typically is just those little routine things, $2,000, $3,000 to paint something, or to take out the weeds, or trim the grass. That's the stuff that's typically there, not these capital items. But anyway, the thank offering that we were considering was to those two organizations, right amount, wrong amount. I mean, we kind of debated that a little bit in council and came up with these numbers. So we want to present those as a recommendation to the congregation, the voters. Ultimately, this money should be approved by the voters, what we do with it moving forward. Not all of it's going to be planned for in here. Some of it is to feed stuff going forward. We'll have to decide what that is and bring it back to the congregation. But anyway, that's the thing. The Betty Lenz Legacy Fund is what we call it. I'll let Scott talk to that, because he knows how we run it.
What we talked about in council was, and we've talked about it for years, it would be very nice to have a rainy day fund, but instead we think it's a better term by calling it the Betty Lenz Legacy Fund. And by doing that, we would like to establish $50,000 to go into a CD or savings account from this gift that would be there for the rainy day items that may occur. And we would also build into our budget going forward, as we use that $50,000, we would replenish it so that the Betty Lenz Legacy Fund would not go away, it would stay there. But we have it, we're now, like we talked about a month ago, what were we going to do? We were going to have to send letters out to our members saying, we don't have any money. And now we have this gift. So that is part of that Betty Lenz Legacy Fund. Along with that, we would like to use $20,000 of the gift to put in that savings account for a future plan, future growth for our preschool. That would be there on however we need to use it going forward. If we want more students, more staff, whatever. So that's pretty much what the number 2 category is. We would put $70,000 aside for those 2 items under the Betty Lenz Legacy Fund. Does that make sense to everybody at this point? Yeah.
Just one comment too, I think as part of the long-range plan, the board has approved that we, at some point in time, establish this thing called a financial stabilization fund to handle things going forward, so it also meets one of the directives that were given to the council by the congregation through the long-range plan, so that helps us kind of check the box on that one.
Thank you for reminding me of that. That's right. That was part of our long-range plan that we developed here a year ago, 2 years ago. You want me to go on?
I can do the
You want to do the next ones?
church parsonage one, sure. I didn't do a few.
Okay. All right.
So, back to Bob Boone in the support elder role. These are the things that Bob came up with. We tasked him with. Bob, what gets you the crisis things that need to be addressed between now and June 30th? Get through this fiscal year. So he came back with these items: the furnace and AC replacements. We talked about that already. Parsonage foundation repair. We talked about that. That's on the garage area. We don't know for sure if it's on the structure itself or not. If you didn't know, that was a pre-made building that was set on a foundation when it came. It wasn't built on site. It was prefab construction. So important that the foundation be taken care of and squared away. Parking lot resurfacing, we thought would be out in the spring anyway, but probably this year. And then the tree removal, I talked about that before too. So again, the things we've listed here that we've had Bob get preliminary pricing on comes up to $65,000. So big chunk. Some of the numbers between the items may shift up or down based on who we finally contracts with to do those things. We have a solid number on tree removal. We don't have a foundation repair number. I believe we have a solid number on the furnace and air conditioning replacement, and we haven't looked into the parking lot resurfacing yet, thinking we had time. The only thing that's immediate that Bob would have to ask Scott to write a check out of our account for would be those furnaces if we chose to do it now. The one's already been done. Council approved doing the one provide heat to the preschool. That's been taken care of, but it was something Scott had to dig into our special funds to cover that cost. So,
Not a special
I'm sorry.
Unified.
No, that came out of Unified.
Unified.
Okay, all right. So that was the really critical one that had to get taken care of. Some of these can wait for a little bit, but need to be done before the end of June. So anyway, that's the stuff on the buildings and grounds. Any questions about it, Tim?
The
tree removal, how much is the solid number that we have?
7,500 for all 6 trees.
And that includes stump grinding.
Okay. The reason I ask is, you know, I know some of them, the one that the city's requiring us to take down, that's a traffic hazard because it's close to the street. But the other ones, if we haul away a lot of branches and other things, if there's some way we can do anything, if they drop them, we cut them up and haul away ourselves, if we could save ourselves a few $1,000s, because we've done it before. Bob's got a trailer and a number of us have helped load it. And if Plymouth, I forget when they closed their site where you can dump it, because when we had a tree taken down in our neighborhood, they said half the cost was the removal, once it's on the ground.
So the contractor that Bob recommended to the council said the exact same thing. It's not in his pricing for the 7,500. He would have to say, oh, okay, you guys want to take care of this part? I'll take this off the bill. I'll take that off the bill. He didn't say he was willing to do that. Leave us the wood chips if we wanted to. He'd chip it and we could use the wood chips.
7,500 includes that or doesn't?
7,500 includes him cutting down the trees, hauling them out of here. Done. We don't touch them again. Grinds the stumps. If we want to keep some of that stuff, he would figure out, you know, negotiate with us to do that.
Several $1,000.
Oh, I think you're right, yeah. Some of these are pretty big. What do you say, 20-inch diameter, some of these trees?
I don't think we could lift those into a trailer without a device.
No, some of them we can't, but there's a couple of these out on the corner here, the spruce tree, they're small, and the one that's right outside
This one
the
up
border
front.
is a small tree.
But you're not gonna get a contractor to say, well, this one we want to haul away for you, and this one we want you to haul away for us. That's just not gonna work.
So that's what I'm saying, that the number he gave us, 65,000, includes some back and forth we may have to do. If we have volunteers to do it, I'm sure Bob will love to hear that he's got a crew and can help, because that'll cut down the
I
cost.
think we planned on worst case scenario. If we have the contractor do it, it'd be $7,500. If whatever we can do to offset that, then it's to our benefit.
Money saved. Yep. Any other questions about those needs and the timing?
How much is the parking lot reserved?
What's that?
How much is the parking lot reserved?
He estimated 15.
15 is what he estimated, and that's from
15,000?
what we had done in the past, but that was quite a few years ago. Hopefully that's good now, so. That was one we kind of had to throw a dart
We're not doing that.
Is that digging it up or just coating it?
in. I don't know what's
So taking the sealing it and taking care of the cracks, it wouldn't be taking it up.
Right.
I mean, we did that 5 years ago when we did this addition. Most of the parking lot was brand new, put in brand new, at least out here. So I think it was
twice that at least. I remember from the building committee, it was at least twice that 15,000 to tear up the old one we had, put on a brand new one. Man, it's $45,000 if I remember right.
By staying on top of it now and taking care of the cracks and sealing it, you're protecting it so that within 2-3 years from now, you wouldn't have to replace it.
And then there'd be restriping involved and, you know, some other stuff. Any other questions on that item? Eddie?
Yeah, just a clarification maybe, the entire parking lot was done, so new old, when we did the addition, it was expanded and all redone and regraded, so it's all the same age at this point.
So we should just be able to top dress it is what you're kind of leaning towards, yeah.
Did everybody hear what he said?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did everybody hear that the whole parking lot was completely resurfaced at the same time? So there's not no new part or anything. Okay. No other questions on that? I'll let Scott explain item 4.
Okay, number 4, and when I talked to you about the treasurer's report, we talked about special funds. And we have that $29,000 that's part of our checkbook. 2 of the large items was debt retirement. People have designated, at this point, we have a balance of $4,830 in that special fund in our checkbook. And the CMO missions, we have a current balance of $11,259. It was our recommendation at this point, because of the gift, now we have the opportunity to fund those 2 and send the $4,830 to Thrivent to offset our mortgage balance, and to send the $11,000, which was designated by members, to wells in that amount of $11,259. So that's our recommendation. Roughly, those two add up to $16,000. And that's why on this report we've got the two columns. We've got the Betty Lenz bequest line, and we've got the special line just to show you that really would come out of our checkbook, but we're doing it because we have the available funds to do that now.
On the CMO, I think everybody should, I'm just going to emphasize the fact that what's in that special fund CMO is member gifts to our congregation that should go in. We haven't had that luxury. We've had to lean on these funds and use them for a period of time before we send them in. This would allow us not to have to do that going forward. There's CMO in our budget as well. That's different money. There's money going to Synod as a thank offering, and that's also there. So just be aware there's three pieces to that, right? Correct. Any questions for us on paying those items off? Finally, if you have any sentiment?
By looking at this spreadsheet, and you can see down at the bottom, if we were to do all these categories, there would still be a remaining balance of Betty Lenz money of $30,000 that we have not designated anything to at this point. And our special funds that we talked about in the treasurer's report, now that balance would be reduced to $13,000 instead of $29,000. And you got to remember, we still have our monthly needs in our budget that we still maintain this church, we still pay the staff, we still pay the mortgage, we pay the lights bill, the heating bill, and so on. We've been blessed with this money to do extraordinary things. Any other thoughts or questions?
So the plan, are we looking at a fundraiser every year to kind of keep replenishing this fund?
But I think one of the things that we haven't had the luxury to do is to think out, is to think out ahead, a year out, what needs to be addressed, you know, maybe a contingency in there or something, so that we could come back during budget time and talk to the congregation and go, we think we're gonna need $10,000 to replenish things that we think are coming up. Just be aware of that, approve it like you would the budget, and we know that the congregation would support us on doing that. In the meantime, if something breaks, we can fix it right now, and then come back and say, this is how we spent it, now let's replenish the fund. I guess the mechanics of it, that's the way I view it. Anybody have questions about doing it that way, or?
So if you create the $50,000 stability safety fund, and the $20,000 goes to the preschool, this $30,000, is this going to the checkbook then, kind of?
At this point, it would be remaining in the checkbook, and that's what we're here for. You know, doesn't say that we can't. And as Stu said, that $65,000 for the maintenance for the church, that's not all going to come out of the checkbook tomorrow. It's, you know, this is like a one-year plan until June. This is our plan, thinking this fiscal year, these are the things that we want to take care of. The air conditioning, the furnaces, resurfacing, so on and so on. Establishing that stabilization fund, that money will sit over here, and $20,000 and $50,000 will be sitting over here when needed. The school, we don't know what that $20,000 is going to entail, when we would use it. Could be this year, but it'll be in that savings account or CD. We pull it out at that point and use it. Jennifer, you know, if she wants to take a cruise or what. Eric?
Just a question. I know we talked about more support items, such as the furnace and so forth, but in previous council meetings, it was brought to our attention that some of the technology that we have here is not going to be supported by Microsoft and so forth with our current situation. Should any of those funds be designated to help upgrade some of the computer systems and so forth?
that's a good point, but in my treasurer's report, if you look at special funds, we currently have $5,700 there for AV Technology Fund. Not saying that, you know, if we need more, that's a good point, but we do have that 5,700 now already.
And I think the technology group hasn't gotten together yet, we've got that all formed. But based on the Microsoft issues, they ended in October, week ago, October 14th or 15th. But we've found workarounds. And the 5,700 will definitely get us to the end of the year. So that was kind of my thought on it, is we shouldn't need anything.
Again, this is just our thoughts to get everybody thinking. You know, we could have 20 items, right? We could go on and on. We felt this was our current needs, and I think the council did a pretty good job trying to come up with the basics.
So I guess with that all said, Tim, go ahead.
Are you looking for a motion?
That's what I was going to say.
I move that we accept this report as written.
Okay.
May I interject before we do that? I'd like to go back to Dave and say, Dave, are you comfortable with this as your gift?
To be, you know, this was my mother's bequest, so I.
I understand, but I just feel that with that gift, I'm gonna see if you're okay with this.
So, you know, taken with a grain of salt, you know, my mother valued this church tremendously. I think the thought that's gone into where this money goes, some of it is kind of forced, I know, with things that break. I really like the idea of that fund that will be there, so the next furnace that breaks, or whatever it is, won't cause an emergency. So I think that's really kind of the heart of this. I think that's really good. So this has my endorsement for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Tim made a motion.
To accept the report as written.
Did you just make a second? Okay, very good. So motion is second, discussion on approving all this as one.
Just to, as the report's written, obviously there's some areas that are
Dan, not stand up, or I can't hear you, sir.
As the report is written, I guess I understand that obviously there's some quotes and there's some timing issues yet that the numbers can't fully reflect. So, I don't know if I'm saying that it should be modified, or if we really want to take the numbers verbatim as they are, because it doesn't say that, you know, there's a lot of discussion that took place that leaves some of those numbers a little ambiguous at this point. So, something less.
In relation to that, I think part of the thought was we want Bob to know when he's got a license to go contract for these items and start his negotiations, and then report back to council and also to the congregation on where they fell off. So that's why we put a number in there, because some of it's unknown. And we won't talk again for 3 months as a congregation.
So my only point is, you know, I'm not opposing any of the numbers that I see, or, you know, how they're drawn together. I guess just from the motion standpoint, just wanted to make sure that we understand that those numbers aren't part of the fast as far as how they're written. So by accepting the report, I guess that's the way I see it, but by our discussion, I know that it isn't. I just wanted to make sure we're clear on that.
While you were talking, I thought of something that'd be near to your heart. The dampers, we also talked about the damper need, that those be repaired. So I believe that was built into that opportunity, so.
Just to address his concerns, he's got that $30,000 undesignated, so that, you know, should it become 70 instead of 65, there's money there that you can draw from.
Also, as a point that of all the items there, 65 is the variable one, right? The 6,000, the 12,000 to West and Wells, pretty cut and dry. The 70,000 that we talked about putting into a CD or a savings account, that's pretty well cut and dry. The 16,000 that's already in our checkbook, that's pretty well cut and dry. We cut those, I can cut those checks tomorrow. Those three categories. The 65, that's right. But between now and June, we think that those are the projects that we would be taking care of. And you're right, Danny, it might not be 65,000. I think Bob is very good about coming up with estimates that I don't think we're going to be off too much, but who knows, right? Tariffs. Tariffs can make things change overnight. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to really say that I totally approve of the guide here. So, and that's the way I'm looking at it, is this is a very good guide for us to move forward, and that's what we're approving, or we.
Okay, thank you. Yep. That was your motion, Tim, right? Yep. The one thing.
If it's that much different, you guys are gonna come back to us and say,
Yes.
we blew the estimate. But you have to have something to go by.
Well, not the treasurer would. President.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to underscore is, like Scott said, we made that bank offering payment, we pay out the special funds, Parsons repairs, we work on that number, be in our budget, and legacy fund would be set up. We're hoping that, get to the end of the year, we've taken all crises off our back, we've got 70,000 in the legacy fund, we've got 30,000 extra in the checkbook. The year stayed on track, I guess is what we're looking for when we get to that. Any other comments or questions?
We could, depending on how people feel, if we have that 30,000, we could also put that in the savings account if you want, if you don't want it to sit in our checkbook. But, we can do that, or we can let that ride for 3 months. That's what we're here for, to talk about.
I think having a little liquidity would be beneficial, just in case something did come up. So
Could
you
leave
have
it, could leave it there.
Yeah.
Okay, one question I should ask is, just raise your hand if anybody would prefer a written ballot, otherwise we'll just do a placeholder on the motion. Anybody needs a written ballot? Okay. Motion been made, seconded, we've had some discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great, thank you very much, council appreciates it. And again, the whole congregation appreciates it, thank you. Pastor, we skipped over your report, so do you want to give that?
All right, let's see, the things that, I think most things in my report are self-explanatory, all different ministry items that are on there, and the ministry of the word, different nurturing things. Outreach has already been reviewed by our outreach committee. And we only had one release from membership during this quarter, Nathaniel Richards. I think everything else on there you can make sense of by what it had. Does anyone have any questions on anything that's written on it that might not be clear? I guess I'll say the female shepherding advisory role, it's under shepherding. And that's something our shepherding committee has been working on. And more information about that will be coming up in the coming months. So it's just something that we've begun. And at this point, I don't say no one knows what I'm talking about, but not very many people know what I'm talking about. But we'll take and publicize information about that soon. Anything else on there? Need more explanation? All right.
Any other new business that people have for the meeting? Not, I look for adjournment. Somebody want to make a motion? Second, thank you. Any discussion? In favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Please.
Lord God, Heavenly Father, in your word today, you gave us that wonderful example of how you were with your people, even stopping a river from flowing so that your promise to them could be achieved. We praise and thank you for your wonderful promises to us, that you are always with us, that Jesus is with us where 2 or 3 come together in his name, with us in the word and sacrament, that you will never leave us nor forsake us, but you will accomplish your eternal plans for us. We pray that you would continue to guide us, to bless us, to help us use our resources of finances and of people and of talents and energy, so that above all, your kingdom comes and grows among us. Thank you, Holy Father, for all your goodness. May we memorialize that in our lives today and going forward.
In Christ alone my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. His cornerstone, his solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone